Don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent.
Were you aware that Jordan Chandler or his family on his behalf filed a lawsuit against you?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, Mr. Jackson, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Brett Barnes?
Won't answer that.
Something bad about a child that made me feel really mad.
When you'd have sleepovers and you'd stay in the same room or the same bed, did that seem unusual to you at all?
No, because I slept on one side of the bed, he slept on the other, and that was that.
Do you know a person by the name of Macaulay Culkin?
Yes.
No.
Get your answer.
So you're going to let him answer questions about Macaulay Culkin?
Let him answer that one.
To your knowledge, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Macaulay?
That's an instruction not to answer on that one.
I have to say, Chris Tucker and Macaulay Culkin will always go down in my book as loyal, good friends. They had managers and agents and lawyers who didn't want them to get involved, and they both told me that when Michael needs us, we're going to be there. There were other witnesses, people he knew at Neverland who came in to tell the truth. We had a lot of people that rose to his defense.
What's the relationship that you had with Michael Jackson?
Had or have? I mean, it's kind of,
both.
you know, whatever.
Let's go with had to
Listen,
have.
no, he's a good friend of mine, and he still is. I mean, everything that's going on, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation for everyone involved, and, you know,
How'd you first get to meet him?
I first met him, he kind of called me randomly, like out of the blue. He was just kind of like, hi, it's Michael. I was like, hey. And the thing
This
is
was
with...
after Home Alone?
This is after Home Alone. I actually had met him before I was doing Nutcracker at Lincoln Center. I was playing Fritz, and he came backstage one day, and I actually met him very briefly. And he kind of recognized me because it was after I'd done Uncle Buck, and so he kind of mentioned something. And then he calls me up kind of out of the blue. It's kind of just this weird random thing. And he was like, why don't you come over to my house? And the thing is, I didn't react to him the way most people did. Most people are like, Michael Jackson. And, you know, I mean, he was a god to people.
And I would walk up to them, strangers, and say, will you be my friend? They'd go, oh my God, Michael Jackson. And it's not what I wanted. I wanted somebody to love me or be my friend for me, or not to see the external me.
To me, he was, you know, I knew he was a pop singer, but beyond that, you know, I wasn't one of the fans. I think that's one of the reasons why we connected, was the fact that, you know, believe me, I call him a jerk all the time. I call him a fathead and this and that, you know, and he gets it.
Your brother knew him too?
Yeah, no, we all did. I mean, he was, you know, a family friend.
What
basically.
happened at the house? That's what all these things
It's,
that
you
people
know, that's
are concerned
what's so
about.
weird, you know.
What did happen?
Nothing happened, you know. I mean, nothing really. I mean, we played video games, you know. We you know, played at his
Sleep in the
amusement
bed?
park. Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, you know, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories, and it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself, and he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last like 30 years, or, you know, and so he's not very good at communicating to people, and not very good at conveying what he's actually trying to say to you. And so when he says something like that, you know, people, you know, he doesn't quite understand why people react the way that they do.
Why do you think he likes young people so
It's because it's the same reason why he liked me, was the fact that I didn't care who he was. That was the thing. I talked to him like he was a normal human being. And that's what, and kids do that to him, because he's not, I mean, he's Michael Jackson, the pop singer, but he's not the god of, the king of pop or anything like that. He's just, a guy who's actually very kid-like himself and wants to go out there and wants to play video games with you.
Did your parents encourage it?
They weren't against it. It wasn't like they encouraged it or like pushing me upon it. It was just kind of like I wanted to hang out with him.
And Jesus said to love the children and be like children. Be youthful and be innocent and be pure and honorable. He was talking to his apostles, and they were fighting over who's the greatest among themselves. And he said, whoever humbled yourself like this child is the greatest among you. And he always surrounded himself with children. And that's how I was raised, to believe and to be like that and to imitate that.
Yeah, there's been different times where it'll just be me and Michael. Then there'll be other times where he has other friends over too. This is like what Brett said, it's just a slumber party. We just have a lot of fun.
I've been there when these kids have been in Michael's room. I've been there with them. It's just party time. They watch videos, they eat junk food, they play video games. They play so hard. They fall asleep. They're exhausted. They fall asleep.
Now,
there's nothing more to it than that.
From your standpoint, does it seem unusual for a 34-year-old man to have kids sleeping over?
Not when you know Michael's background. Under normal circumstances, possibly yes. But Michael, everybody knows he didn't have a childhood. He impresses on me constantly that it's very important that Wade does have a childhood because he's in the same industry.
Before I washed his hair, we actually knelt down on the ground. And he put his arms around me, and I put my arms around him, and he would put his head right here and weep. And we would pray for God to help us and for people to know the truth. And then we'd get up and wipe our tears, and I would wash his hair.
Do you think he thought he was going to be convicted, Karen?
He didn't know. I mean, it was so vicious. I had to walk the red carpet into that courtroom every day in front of all the cameras. He said during the trial, I can't believe the world is doing this to me. He said, I gave everything that I had. I gave them my music, I danced for them, and this is what I get in return.
It had to be totally torture. I can imagine what was going on in his mind and his head, and he's not strong in that way at all.
The stress and strain of this 5-month trial took a toll on him. You saw him losing weight. He was having trouble sleeping. I would talk to him at 3, 4, or 5 in the morning, and he would be terrified, particularly about what might happen to his children.
He did need some help, some things to help him fall asleep at night, because there was no way he was sleeping with all this stuff going on in his head. I don't know how anyone could sleep.
The thought that you might be found guilty and spend the rest of your life in a jail cell and all your accomplishments washed down the drain? I don't know how he coped. Most people would have taken a gun to their head.
The first day of Gavin's testimony, Michael shows up and he's in pajamas. And he looked like he was in really bad shape. And they had to help him into the courtroom. From that moment on, everything started to get really awful. You started seeing Michael coming in every day looking like death. It was as if the testimony was just destroying him.
To sit there in court and watch the legal system hurl absurd and vindictive and nasty, mean-spirited allegations at him like this absolutely traumatized him.
For me, and for other people who actually knew Michael, this was a real human being whose life was being destroyed. And every day it just seemed to get worse.
It's sad because I really feel that trial is what really depressed my brother out to the point where he just wasn't happy. He never went back to Neverland.
I will never, ever sell Neverland. Neverland is me, It represents the totality of who I am. It really does. I love Neverland.
For Michael not to go to Neverland, he must have been pretty sad, didn't want to have nothing to do with that place ever again.
I won't live there ever again. I'll visit Neverland. It's a house now, it's not a home anymore. I'll only visit there.
It bothered me because I was wondering how he was feeling and how he was dealing with it. Michael used to always tell me I'd rather slit my own wrist than to hurt a child.
I would slit my wrist if I would hurt you.
And here they are trying to accuse me of the thing that I love best, and that's children, accuse me of molesting them.
The more I looked at the facts, the more I conversed with him, the more ridiculous these charges appeared. He just did not seem like the kind of person that could ever engage in this kind of behavior. They couldn't find any pornography on his computers. They had the FBI test every computer at Neverland. They couldn't find any kiddie pornography. This family began to come up with these allegations of molestation and conspiracy only when they realized that they were on the way out. Do I personally think he had a vendetta against him? I absolutely do. Why else would you devote all that time and energy to trying to convict one person?
It was really up to, and I felt he was a very vindictive person.
He really, truly looked like a dead man walking.
It was a tense moment. You know, the entire world stopped to watch what was going to happen to the best-known celebrity, a musical genius, Michael Jackson.
The jury in the above entitled case find the defendant not guilty of conspiracy as charged in count 1 of the indictment.
The verdict was read, and it was not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, all the way down the line, all counts not guilty. And I remember very specifically Michael seeming to not understand. And I remember Tom Sneddon looking at Michael for a reaction and not really getting one. And I also remember Tom Mesereau, his lawyer, leaning in and mouthing to Michael Jackson, "You're a free man." I could read his lips because I was so close. And Michael still didn't get it. You felt like it was a triumphant moment, but then when you looked at him, you realized he wasn't there for it. There was nothing you could do. He was so devastated that it had happened that you couldn't even find a place to be happy that it ended the way it did, because it was so devastating that it had occurred at all.
But with just a little love and a little caring, I have seen kids totally turn around where you can't find any cancer at all in their body. I've done it a lot of times. I'm not trying to say I'm Jesus Christ. I'm just saying we just should, you know, give a little more attention to the power of love and caring and faith and prayer.
He would always tell me, "It's over, I don't trust anyone. I don't know why they're doing this to me. They want me dead." He said, "They're going to kill me for what I got."